Have you ever caught yourself reacting in a way you deeply regretted afterward? A snide message, an unexpected criticism, someone cutting you off in traffic, or even a silly comment, and boom, explosion. Sometimes it's shouting. Sometimes it's cold silence. Sometimes it's hidden anger you carry all day. Deep down, you know you didn't want to react that way. But something inside you was already loaded, ready to blow. And all it took was a little push from the world for everything to spiral out of control. The truth is, the modern world is an emotional minefield. You wake up to notifications. You're pressured for results, performance, appearance, opinions, productivity. And just when you think you'll catch a breath, someone attacks you, judges you, or ignores you. In this setting, staying in control has become the exception, not the rule. But what if I told you the problem isn't out there? That the real chaos starts within? Yes, the outside world is intense. But what brings us down isn't what happens. It's how we react to what happens. And that's where the Stoics asked a question over 2,000 years ago. What if true power isn't about defeating others, but not being defeated by yourself? Controlling the world is impossible. Controlling your mind is an art. And those who master it carry the most powerful weapon that exists, the ability to not react and still win. Stoicism wasn't born in a temple, nor in a library. It was born from a shipwreck. Zeno of Citium lost everything at sea. He was a merchant. His ship was full of goods, and suddenly nothing. No money, no guarantees, no future. He arrived in Athens broke, but with a question that would change everything. How can I live well even when everything goes wrong? That question led him to study Socrates, the Cynics, the Platonists, and eventually to found his own school of thought. In the Stoa Poikal, a public colonnade, he taught that a man's true strength isn't in what he has, but in who he becomes when everything is taken away. Centuries later, Epictetus, who was a slave, would take that thinking even further. You can bind my body. You can insult me. You can beat me. But you will never control my mind unless I allow it. Seneca, a Roman senator and political advisor, wrote about holding on to reason even in the midst of power, envy, and the constant threat of execution. And then came Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who commanded armies and faced plagues and betrayal. Yet every night, he wrote quietly to himself, "Control lies within. Nothing out there can take that from me." Stoicism was born of pain but became a mental shield, an invisible armor against everything trying to break you from the inside. Imagine your mind as a fortress. The walls aren't made of stone, but of virtues. And the Stoics built this fortress on 4 foundational pillars: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The first is wisdom. It's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters. It's seeing through chaos to what truly depends on you. It's not getting lost in pointless arguments or wasting energy on the uncontrollable. When you're wise, you respond, you don't react. You choose what's worth feeling. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." The second is courage. Not the kind that yells or defies, but the kind that stands firm even when everything pushes you to quit. It's the quiet strength to remain calm when everyone around you is losing their minds. It's continuing to act justly even when it would be easier to explode. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is possible to act with virtue, then there's no reason not to." The third is justice. It protects you from your ego, because it's easy to lose control when we're offended. But the Stoic asks, does this give me the right to be unjust? Justice is treating others according to your principles, not your impulses. And finally, temperance, the virtue of moderation, of balance, of not being a slave to pleasure or to anger. Temperance is being able to feel everything, yet not be ruled by any of it. These 4 virtues don't make you cold. They make you strong. Because when the world presses in, they hold you up from the inside. In today's world, this structure is more valuable than any degree, status, or power. Those who live by it have nothing to prove. Because true mastery is invisible, but unshakable. Have you ever lost your cool over something completely out of your control? Someone said something unfair. Traffic was awful. The outcome didn't go your way. And you blew up. Now stop and think. Could you control that situation, or only your response to it? This is the Stoics' most powerful mental weapon. Epictetus called it the dichotomy of control. And it starts with a simple question. What depends on me? Do you control what others say? The weather? The past? People's reactions? No. You control what you think, what you feel, what you do. It's like life is split into 2 boxes. In the first, everything outside your reach. In the second, everything within your choice. The mistake? trying to control the first box and ignoring the second. You don't control whether someone respects you, but you control whether you lose your head over it. You don't control if you'll be recognized, but you control whether you act with excellence anyway. In practice, every time something hits you, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, does this depend on me? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, act with virtue. It's simple, but revolutionary. Because when you understand that control begins within, you stop being a puppet of the world and start becoming the author of your own peace. What do you do when life gives you exactly the opposite of what you wanted? You lose a project. Someone leaves. A plan collapses. Something that felt certain turns into chaos. Most people react with anger, frustration, or denial. But the Stoics did something radically different. They accepted, and more than that, they loved it. Amor Fati. That's the phrase. It means, love your fate. Not like someone who's resigned, but like someone who understands that everything that happens has a purpose, to shape you from the inside. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by loss. He lost children, friends. He faced betrayal, plagues, wars, and isolation. But instead of cursing his fate, he wrote, "What happens to me happens for me. Nature does not act against me but with me." Is it hard? Yes, but it's freeing. Because when you stop fighting what already happened, you gain the power to choose what you'll do with it. Amor Fati isn't giving up. It's transformation. It's turning crisis into clarity, loss into presence, pain into depth. Think about that the next time something frustrates you. What if, instead of resisting, you accepted it with wisdom? What if, instead of wishing it were different, you used it to grow? When you love what happens, even pain becomes strength. And no one, absolutely no one, can take that from you. Self-control doesn't come out of nowhere. You don't just wake up stoic one day. Self-mastery is a practice. And the Stoics trained it daily, like someone sharpening an invisible blade. The first tool of that training is Stoic journaling. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. He didn't write for others. He didn't want to publish anything. He wrote to himself like he was looking in a mirror to his soul. You can do the same. Before bed, ask yourself, where did I lose control today? What threw me off? What would I have done differently if I were more present? This kind of writing isn't about perfection. It's about clarity. It's like cleaning the emotional noise of the day and preparing better for tomorrow. The second practice is negative visualization. That's right. The Stoics imagined the worst. Epictetus suggested asking, what if I lost this? What if this person left? What if this privilege ended tomorrow? This isn't pessimism. It's preparation. Because when your mind has already considered loss, it values what it has. And it doesn't panic when the unexpected shows up. And the third, perhaps the most powerful, memento mori. Remember that you will die. Not in a morbid way, but in a liberating one. Because when you remember death, you remember what really matters. You choose your battles more wisely. You let go of what isn't worth your peace. You live with presence, intention, and truth. These three practices, journaling, visualization, and memento mori, form the foundation of Stoic self-mastery. Not to make you cold, but to make you steady. So that even in chaos you can say, the storm came, but inside, it's still calm. The world is loud. Everyone wants to be heard, to prove something, to respond, to be right. But the Stoics chose a different path, silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of strength. The kind that comes from someone who doesn't need to justify themselves. From someone who knows who they are and doesn't rely on outside noise to stay grounded. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, had the power to silence anyone, but he used silence as a shield. When offended, he wrote, "The best response is not to become like the one who wronged you." He didn't react on impulse. He waited, observed, acted with precision, not ego. Epictetus, who had been a slave, understood this like no one else. He endured abuse, humiliation, but said, "If you remain silent, no one can force you to lose your peace." That kind of silence isn't weakness. It's emotional intelligence. It's the conscious choice not to be dragged into someone else's chaos. But it's not just silence that matters. It's what you do while you're silent. Consistency. You don't fight back. You don't show off. But you keep going. You do the work. You improve. Go deeper. Grow. And the most curious part? Over time, the world notices. Because quiet consistency builds something no amount of noise can force. Respect. Those who stay calm with strength and act with integrity don't need to defend themselves. Life takes care of showing the strength of those who never needed to prove anything. You might think Stoicism is just some ancient philosophy written on scrolls by men in robes. But the truth is, today's most elite people use this mental weapon every day. Elite athletes use Stoic principles to stay calm in decisions worth millions. When a throw, a race, or a move determines everything, they can't afford to lose their heads. They train their focus, their acceptance of outcomes, and their full presence in the moment. That's the dichotomy of control in action. Do what depends on you, and release the rest. Soldiers on the battlefield study Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. Why? Because in chaos, when everything is on the line, self-control matters more than strength. It's not the strongest soldier who survives, it's the most centered. Investors like billionaire Ray Dalio mention Stoicism as the foundation for making decisions under pressure, without letting fear or greed take over. They know the market is uncontrollable, but the mind isn't. Creators, entrepreneurs, leaders, anyone who faces pressure, criticism, and uncertainty has turned to Stoicism as an invisible shield. And the most surprising part? They face the same struggles Marcus Aurelius did. The only difference is that today's palaces are digital. The battles are internal. The criticism comes through social media. But the need is the same, self-mastery. They're not superhuman. They're people who understand that without inner peace, the outer world becomes noise. What unites all these people, from the battlefield to the boardroom, is this. They know the mind, when trained, becomes your greatest weapon against everything outside your control. Today, reacting is instinct. You're offended? You fire back immediately. You get a no? You shut down. Someone disagrees with you? You attack. Everything demands an instant, intense, loud reaction. But the Stoics saw this as the real enemy, the habit of reacting without thinking. Epictetus said, "Between stimulus and response there is a choice." But in today's world, that choice feels smaller and smaller. We live rushed, pressured, constantly connected, and completely unprepared to pause. Impulsiveness is fed by a fragile ego, one that wants to be right, wants to win the argument, wants to prove something, at any cost. But the Stoic doesn't act out of anger. He acts from reason. What Stoicism teaches is simple. You are not obligated to react. You can observe. You can breathe. You can hold the first emotion, and only then respond, with wisdom. That's not weakness. That's conscious strength. It's refusing to let someone else control your inner state. It's refusing to be a slave to circumstance. Brute strength is shouting louder. Stoic strength is staying silent until you have something worth saying. And when you practice that, you realize, most battles don't even need to be fought, because the one who controls their impulse has already won, before the fight even begins. Being unshakable isn't some rare gift. It's a choice, a habit, a quiet practice repeated every single day. You don't need to be born strong. You need to decide to stay steady when everything tries to knock you off balance. The Stoics' mental weapon, self-control, clarity, and virtue, isn't locked in ancient books. It's within reach for anyone willing to use it. You can start today, by not reacting impulsively, by writing down what you feel, by accepting what you can't change. And tomorrow, repeat. And the next day, repeat again. Because in the end, the strongest one is the one who remains calm on the inside, no matter what happens.